He leaned in slightly, his voice dropping so only she could hear.
Do not ever mix your personal history with your professional life again. Not with me, just work well. That is all I require from you.
A month after the elevator bank confrontation, Amelia's vow of professionalism was put to the test. Thorne Industries was holding its annual charity gala. It was the premiere event of the company's social calendar, held in the grand ballroom of an art museum. It was mandatory for all management-level employees and above, which included strategy analysts. Amelia spent longer getting ready that night, not because she wanted to impress, but because she was putting on her armor. Her black dress was simple yet elegant. Her makeup was flawless. She was Ms. Hayes, a company asset, attending to network. She had repeated this in the mirror. She arrived at the glittering, crowded hall and took a glass of champagne. She scanned the room, identifying key clients she needed to greet, and then she saw him. He wasn't across the room. He was at the center of it. This wasn't Mr. Thorne, the stiff CEO who sat behind a mahogany desk. This also wasn't Julian, the man in the faded t-shirt she remembered. This was a third person, Mr. Julian Thorne, the host. He wore a perfectly tailored black tuxedo. His hair was styled, less rigid than at the office. He moved through the crowd with a fluid, confident charm. He laughed and his voice sounded warm. He touched the arm of the mayor. He smiled at a woman from the legal team, a beautiful woman who was clearly captivated, and Amelia felt an ugly, unexpected sting in her chest. She quickly looked away, angry at herself. It was professional jealousy, she told herself. She was jealous of his ease, his social grace. It was a lie, watching him bestow his charm so freely on everyone in the room, everyone except her, was infinitely more painful than his coldness at the office. Her professional vow was beginning to crack. For an hour, she successfully avoided him. She spoke to 2 clients. She made small talk with Mark, her manager. She was doing her job. Then she was cornered.
Ms. Hayes?
A booming voice called her. Amelia turned. It was Mr. Harrison, the major client from the K4 project she had just completed.
You look wonderful,
Harrison exclaimed.
I was just coming to find you.
Harrison took Amelia's arm in a friendly grip and pulled her into the conversation circle he was in. Amelia's heart plummeted into her stomach. Julian was standing right there, mid-story. He stopped talking the moment he saw her. His expression froze for a microsecond, the same shock from her first day. But he was a professional. He recovered instantly.
Harrison,
Julian said, his smile returning.
You've met our star analyst.
Have I?
Harrison laughed, oblivious.
Julian, this one here, she's a genius. Her analysis on K4? Brilliant. She saved our skin.
Amelia stood pinned, trapped between the 2 men. Julian was now cornered. He couldn't be cold in front of his biggest client. He turned to Amelia, and for the first time in 5 years, he smiled at her. It was a perfect smile, gracious on the surface, friendly, and full of a boss's appreciation. It did not reach his eyes.
We quite agree.
Julian said, his voice warm and false.
Ms. Hayes is an incredible asset to the team.
Harrison, delighted, put a fatherly arm around both of them, pulling them closer for a mental snapshot.
You 2 are the dream team,
he boomed. Amelia's body was now pressed against Julian's side. She could feel the heat from his body through the fabric of his tuxedo. She could smell his cologne and the champagne. Her shoulder was touching his. She smiled stiffly at Harrison, while her entire nervous system was screaming. She glanced at Julian. He was also smiling at the client, his jaw clenched tightly beneath the feigned good humor. He was a masterful performer.
Now if you'll excuse me,
Harrison said, finally releasing them.
I must go greet the board.
The client walked away. Instantly, the smile vanished from Julian's face. The warmth evaporated as if it had never been. He took a quick step away from Amelia, creating a safe distance between them. He adjusted his tuxedo. He did not look at her.
Good work with Harrison, Ms. Hayes,
he said, his voice low and back to its cold business tone.
Maintain that relationship.
Without another word, he turned and melted back into the crowd, leaving Amelia standing alone, trembling. Amelia set down her untouched champagne glass. She finally understood. The coldness in the office she could handle. But the fake smile, the manufactured warmth in public, That was infinitely worse. It was the final humiliation. It proved the Julian she knew was well and truly dead. Amelia's professionalism lasted for 4 days. She worked with an almost ruthless efficiency, drowning her humiliation from the gala in a sea of data. She was Ms. Hayes and she was running on no sleep. Then on Thursday, the crisis hit. Not an emotional crisis, but a multi-million-dollar financial one. Their biggest client, Mr. Harrison, the man who had brought them, together at the gala, had found a massive discrepancy in their projection data. He was threatening to pull his entire portfolio. The Thorne Industries headquarters turned into a war room. Julian was in command. Mr. Thorne was in full effect. He was sharp, fast, and unforgiving. He needed his best analyst. He needed Amelia. All day they worked in the main boardroom. They were no longer Amelia and Julian. They were two machines racing against the clock. They skipped lunch. The rest of the team left one by one as night fell. By 9 p.m., it was just the two of them. The executive floor was silent, lit only by the glow of data screens. At 11:30 p.m., they found it. A tiny coding error on an old server.
I fixed it,
Amelia said, her voice hoarse with exhaustion. She sent the final email to Harrison's team. The crisis was averted.
Good work, Miss Hayes.
Julian said. He loosened his tie, the fatigue clear on his face. They packed their bags in a heavy silence. Their professional pretense was too thin. They were both too tired to maintain it, but too afraid to drop it. They walked to the executive elevator, their footsteps echoing in the empty marble lobby. The polished steel doors opened, and they stepped in together. The doors slid shut, sealing them in the small, quiet box. They stood on opposite sides as far apart as possible. Amelia stared at the lit numbers. Julian stared at his shoes. The silence was so thick it felt like a physical weight. The elevator descended. 55, 53. Suddenly there was a deafening screech of metal. The elevator shuddered violently, throwing Amelia against the wall. Then, with one last stomach-dropping lurch, it stopped. The overhead lights died, plunging them into pitch darkness. A moment later, a dim red emergency light clicked on, bathing them in an eerie glow. Amelia felt a wave of pure panic. She hated small spaces. She fought for breath.
It's all right.
Julian's voice came from the darkness. It was the voice of Mr. Thorne. He moved calmly. He pressed the emergency alarm button. No answer. He pulled out his phone. No signal.
Damn it,
he muttered. Amelia leaned against the wall, trying to control her short, rapid breaths. She shut her eyes.
Miss Hayes, are you all right?
Amelia didn't answer. She was too focused on not screaming.
Amelia.
That voice. It wasn't Mr. Thorne. It was Julian. Soft, worried. That was what broke her. Hearing her name, spoken with that long-lost gentleness, in this dark, terrifying metal box, after months of professional torture, made the dam inside her burst.
Don't,
she whispered, her voice trembling.
Don't what?
Julian stepped closer in the red darkness. He could see her shaking.
don't be kind to me now.
Amelia sobbed, the hot tears she'd been holding back since the gala finally spilling over.
Not after you.
What did I do?
He asked, his voice tight. Amelia exploded. All the pain came out. The pain of his leaving 5 years ago. The pain of their first meeting in his office. The pain of his coldness. The pain of his fake smile at the gala. She hit his chest with her flat palms.
Why were you so cruel to me? Why did you pretend you didn't know me? You knew how much I needed this job. Did you enjoy every second of it? Enjoy watching me squirm? Enjoy calling me Miss Hayes?
She stared up at him, tears streaming down her face.
And your command. That night. Telling me to work well. You used our past against me, just to be cruel. How could you do that?
Julian just stood there, taking it. His face in the dim red light was a mask of agony. He no longer looked like a CEO.
You think that was for you?
His voice was hoarse, barely audible.
What?
The coldness, Mr. Thorne, it wasn't to hurt you.
Julian leaned his head back against the elevator wall, his eyes closed.
It was to save myself.
Amelia froze.
The day you walked into my office,
He continued, his voice thick with an exhaustion she had never heard.
Amelia, I almost collapsed. I spent 5 years trying to build all of this, just so I could be worthy of you. And suddenly you were there. As my employee, it was the cruelest cosmic joke imaginable.
He looked at her, his eyes desperate.
I couldn't be Julian. If I let Julian out for even a second, I would have lost everything. I couldn't lead a meeting. I couldn't.
So you chose to be a bastard?
Amelia whispered.
I chose to survive.
He answered.
I had to make you hate me. It was the only way we could exist in the same building. The coldness, that was my only defense. Because the truth is, I never stopped loving you. Not for 1 second.
Total silence filled the dead elevator. The confession hung in the stuffy air. Outside, they could hear an alarm faintly starting to wail in the distance. Help was on the way. But inside the metal box, the two of them just stared at each other. Their masks were shattered. There was no more Mr. Thorne and Ms. Hayes. There was only Julian and Amelia, trapped together, surrounded by the wreckage of 5 wasted years. The confession hung in the stale, unmoving air.
I never stopped loving you.
The silence that followed in the dead elevator was different. It was no longer awkward or cold. It was vibrating, heavy with the weight of 5 years that had just been unleashed. Amelia stared at him. The man illuminated by the red emergency light was no longer Mr. Thorne. His mask was shattered. All that was left was Julian, and his eyes were filled with the same pain and fear that Amelia felt. Her explosive anger vanished, replaced by a profound confusion.
Then why?
She whispered, her voice hoarse.
Why did you leave? Why did you leave me over a text message, Julian? If you loved me, why did you?
Julian finally told her everything. He could no longer hide behind his suit. In the dark metal box, he finally came clean. He told her not the ambitious lie about his career. He told her the shameful truth. He told her about his father's sudden death a week before he broke up with her. He told her about the mountains of hidden debt his father had left behind. He told her how overnight, he went from a passionate graduate student to a man who was completely broke, responsible for a failing mortgage and mounting bills. He didn't leave to pursue a career. He left because he was ashamed. He was ashamed he couldn't afford to take her on a date. He was ashamed he couldn't be the man he thought she deserved.
I was building all this.
He said quietly, gesturing to the darkness around them.
I was building it all so I could come back to you. So I could be worthy.
You idiot.
Amelia whispered, different tears streaming now.
I never cared about any of that.
I know.
He said.
That's why I didn't deserve you.
Amelia took one hesitant step in the darkness. She reached out a trembling hand and, for the first time, deliberately, touched the sleeve of his suit jacket.
Julian.
Just as she was about to say something. Perhaps that she still loved him. Too, there was a deafening clang of metal from above them. Voices shouted.
Hello? Anyone in there?
The elevator shuddered. The moment was shattered. Reality came crashing in. Julian flinched, taking a step back, the CEO mask reflexively falling back over his face, though it fit poorly now. Amelia quickly wiped her own tears, transforming back into Ms. Hayes. With a series of lurches and a loud grating sound, the elevator doors were finally pried open. 2 security guards, their faces full of concern, aimed blinding flashlights inside.
Mr. Thorne. Ma'am, are you okay?
We're fine.
Julian said, his voice back to its flat, authoritative tone, though slightly hoarse. He stepped out first, then turned and, without thinking, offered his hand to help Amelia out. Amelia stared at that hand. It was a simple, polite gesture, but for them it was everything. She took it. Their grip was firm and real. The guards escorted them to the service elevator. The ride down to the lobby was in complete silence. The guards were too afraid to speak to the disheveled, angry-looking CEO. Amelia and Julian were too busy with their own pounding hearts. They arrived in the vast, empty marble lobby. It was 2:00 a.m. The guards left to file their report. They were left alone again. But now they were in a wide-open, brightly lit space. There was no more darkness to hide in. Amelia clutched her bag.
Well, good night, Mr. Thorne.
She used the name deliberately. A test.
Don't.
Julian said, his voice weary.
Don't do that.
Amelia stopped. He faced her. The man looked wrecked. His tie was loose, his hair was messy, and his eyes were red with exhaustion.
Amelia.
He said.
We can't go back to that. Ms. Hayes, Mr. Thorne, it's over.
So what now?
She whispered. Julian looked at her, the weight of 5 years and that night's corporate crisis clear on his face.
Now.
He said.
You go home. You get some sleep. Don't come in tomorrow. No. Forget that.
He sighed, realizing he'd just given her an order. He tried again.
I don't know how to do this, but I am not losing you again. Not like this.
I don't know either.
Amelia said honestly.
Okay,
Julian said, making a decision.
tomorrow, outside of this place. Can we get coffee? 7 p.m. at our old spot on Elm Street?
It was an offer. A truce, a beginning. Amelia looked at him. Not her boss, but Julian,
I'll think about it.
she said. But as she turned and walked out of the revolving glass doors, the first small smile in 6 months touched her lips. The next day was Friday. Amelia did not go to work, just as Julian had suggested in the lobby. She spent the day in a daze, walking around her apartment, replaying the confession in the elevator over and over. She wasn't sure what was real and what was just an illusion, brought on by exhaustion and fear. She stood in front of her closet at 6:30 p.m. She had no idea what to wear. She wasn't going on a date. She also wasn't going to a business meeting. She was going to meet a ghost. Finally, she chose simple jeans and a sweater. She wanted to look like herself, like Amelia, not Ms. Hayes. The coffee shop on Elm Street hadn't changed much. It still smelled of freshly ground beans and polished wood. It was crowded, noisy, and warm, the complete opposite of Thorne Industries. Amelia arrived 10 minutes early. She got their table, the small one in the back corner, by the window, where they used to sit for hours. She sat there, her heart hammering erratically, feeling like a silly 22-year-old again. She had almost convinced herself that Julian wouldn't come, that in the bright light of a new day, the CEO would regret his vulnerable confession. Then, at 7:02, the bell above the door chimed. Julian walked in. Amelia held her breath. The man who entered was not Mr. Thorne. He wasn't wearing a suit. He wore dark jeans, boots, and a simple gray wool sweater. His hair was slightly messy, as if he'd run his fingers through it on the way here. He looked younger, and he looked terrified. Julian's eyes scanned the crowded room, a flicker of panic on his face, the fear that she might not have come. Then their eyes met. He didn't smile. He just let out a visible, shuddering breath of relief. He walked to the counter first, and Amelia watched him. After a moment, he walked to their table carrying 2 cups. He set one down in front of Amelia. It was the first message, a caramel latte with an extra shot, her old order. He still remembered.
Hi.
He said, his voice quiet.
Hi.
Amelia replied. They sat in awkward silence for a full minute. There was no dark elevator or corporate crisis to fill the space. There was just the two of them, and 5 years of lost time stretched between them on the small wooden table. Julian was the first to speak. He didn't look at her eyes. He stared at his own hands wrapped around his cup. He apologized. Not a formal, manufactured apology, but a messy, honest one. He apologized for leaving. He apologized for the text message. He apologized for being a coward. He talked about the shame of his father, his fear of failure, and how building the company was the only thing he could focus on.
I saw you in my office,
He said quietly.
and my entire 5-year plan shattered in a second. I didn't know how to be your boss and also be the man who destroyed your heart.
Amelia listened. She saw the man who had tormented her at the office for the past 2 months, now sitting in front of her, completely exposed, completely vulnerable. The last remaining bit of resentment in her heart evaporated, leaving only a profound sadness for the time they had wasted.
So,
Amelia said softly, her voice steady.
you were cold to protect yourself, but you didn't think for a second about what that would feel like for me.
Julian's eyes finally met hers. They were full of regret.
I know it was selfish. I panicked.
Silence fell again. They had told the truth. The big question now hung in the air.
So, what now, Julian?
Amelia asked.
Monday morning is coming. I'm still your employee. We're still in that elevator in a way.
Julian looked at her. He didn't have a neat answer. He didn't have a prepared HR solution.
I don't know.
He said honestly.
But here's what I do know. I am not letting you go again. I am not running away again just because it's complicated.
He sighed.
Tomorrow I'm going to talk to HR. There are rules about this, Amelia. Conflict of interest. They might make you move to another department. Or make me.
Or make me resign.
Amelia said. It was the reality.
No,
Julian said firmly.
I won't ask you to do that. I will find a way. If it means restructuring the entire division so you don't report to me, I'll do it. If it means, I don't know.
He looked frustrated, reverting back to the man trying to solve an impossible problem. Then he stopped. He took a deep breath and did the simplest thing. He reached his hand across the wooden table, palm up. It wasn't a CEO's handshake. It was an offer. A request. Amelia looked at that hand. The same hand she had missed for 5 years. The same hand she had feared in the office. After a moment's hesitation, she placed her hand in his. Their first intentional, equal, and real touch in half a decade. It felt like coming home. Monday morning felt different. The news about the stuck elevator and that the CEO and an analyst had been trapped inside for nearly 2 hours had spread like wildfire through the office. People glanced at Amelia with a new, undisguised curiosity. Amelia walked to her desk, her heart pounding. She had no idea what to expect. At 9:30 a.m., the email she had been dreading appeared. Sender HR Human Resources. Subject Urgent Meeting 10:09 a.m. Body Ms. Hayes. Please meet us in boardroom 3. Mr. Thorne will also be in attendance. Her heart sank. This was it. She was being fired, of course. It was the easiest solution for the company. She walked to the boardroom, feeling like she was walking to her own execution. Julian was already there, sitting at the head of the table. He was wearing his full CEO suit. He was Mr. Thorne. Next to him sat Catherine, the head of HR, the tough woman who had first interviewed her.
Please sit down, Miss Hayes,
Catherine said, her tone neutral. Amelia sat across from them.
Here's the situation.
Catherine began, getting straight to the point.
Mr. Thorne has informed me of
the unique circumstances that you'd had a personal relationship in the past.
Amelia swallowed, nodding. And he has also informed me, Catherine continued,
that you both intend to rekindle that relationship.
Amelia looked at Julian, but he was studying the documents in front of him. He offered no help. Catherine sighed.
Amelia, you must understand, this is an administrative nightmare. The Thorne Industries policy is very clear. A top executive cannot be in a romantic relationship with anyone in their direct chain of command. It's a massive conflict of interest. It is unacceptable.
And therein lay the problem. The strategy analyst, Amelia, reported directly to the CEO, Julian.
So,
Amelia's voice trembled.
I have to resign?
No.
Julian's voice cut in, firm and final. Catherine and Amelia both looked at him. Julian finally raised his head. He looked at Catherine, not Amelia.
I spent the weekend
Julian said, as Mr. Thorne.
reviewing our organizational structure. The crisis last Thursday proved we have a vulnerability. Our strategy division is too reliant on the CEO for daily direction.
He pushed a folder across the table toward Amelia.
Effective today,
Julian said.
I am restructuring the department. I am creating a new position, Director of Internal Strategic Development. This role will no longer focus on daily client analysis, but on the company's long-term strategy.
Amelia opened the folder. It was a job description, and at the top was her name.
This is a promotion.
Amelia whispered.
It is a lateral move into a leadership role.
Julian corrected, still in professional mode.
The salary is commensurate, but most importantly,
He pointed to a new organizational chart. This position will no longer report to the CEO. It will report to the COO.
Mrs. Devereaux.
Amelia stared at him, finally understanding. Julian had worked all weekend. He hadn't just complained about the problem, he had changed the company structure for her. He had moved her from his subordinate to his colleague.
We will, of course, require both of you to sign a full relationship disclosure document,
Catherine said, looking much more relaxed now that there was a clean solution.
But as far as HR is concerned, this resolves the conflict of interest.
Amelia looked at Julian. The man who had run from a problem 5 years ago, out of shame, had just reorganized a billion-dollar company to be with her.
Ms. Hayes.
Julian asked, his tone still formal, but his eyes were Julian's.
Do you accept this new reporting structure?
Amelia couldn't help but smile.
I accept, Mr. Thorne.
Very well.
Catherine said, closing her folder.
That will be all. Congratulations on your new role, Amelia.
The head of HR stood and left them alone in the boardroom. Silence returned, but this time it was light and full of hope. Julian loosened his tie. The Mr. Thorne mask vanished.
So,
He said, a small smile playing on his lips.
I hear the new Director of Internal Strategic Development doesn't report to me.
that's what I hear.
Amelia said, standing and walking toward him.
In that case,
Julian said. standing to meet her in the middle of the room.
Seeing as you are technically no longer my subordinate, may I take you to dinner tonight?
I'll have to check my schedule.
Amelia teased.
I'm also not taking no for an answer.
He whispered. He pulled her close, and this time, in the brightly lit boardroom in the heart of Thorn Industries, he kissed her. And it was no longer a nightmare. It was her new beginning,